Hello.
Hello.
I'd like to welcome you to Akron's Local History Club. Pleasure to meet you.
Same here.
My name is Nancy Eckerson, and your name?
Barbara Bono.
Barbara Bono. Wonderful to have you here with us, Barbara. We'd like to ask you a few questions today about things in history that have impacted your life, and also about any famous people you may have met, presidents you may have known, political figures, and any memories you have of Akron so far. How long have you been here?
September 98.
Okay, so you've been here approximately 5 years.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about Akron so far?
It's just like my hometown,
Oh, it is. What's your hometown?
Eagle Rock, California.
Eagle Rock, California. So you're a California girl.
Born and raised.
Ah, born and raised. Wonderful. Okay. Are you working right now in Akron?
I am the head of the senior, well, I'm a site manager for the food program and the senior center.
Wonderful. And what did you do before you came to Akron? What sort of work?
Oh, gosh. I was a nurse for Huntington Memorial Hospital in Pasadena.
Okay, in Pasadena, you were a nurse. It says on your little preliminary questionnaire that you were a member working in a large training and trauma center?
Yes. Huntington is next to LA County Hospital, the largest training hospital in the Los Angeles district or area. And I mean, they fly people in for the, emergencies and so forth. So you got nurses and doctors training there, and they come in from UCLA and SC.
And what type of nurse were you?
Oh, I started out in labor and delivery. I ended up in oncology, hospice, and after 7 years I had to leave.
You must have a tremendous amount of compassion to even last 7 years doing that.
It was too much.
Yeah.
7 years was too much.
What a difficult profession that is.
Yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
it was.
Well, I understand you have some wonderful memories from California, people you met. Would you like to talk a little bit about Richard Gebhardt, for instance?
Well, let's see. I guess it was in the early 90s after Clinton first took over office, and the Congress was trying to get everybody in there that they could to keep the Democrats in office. And he and a group of people came around to our senior building and talked to us, so I got to meet him. And at that time, he was running with the man that was running from our district. I can't even remember his name, but I think he's now in Congress. I think his name was Adam. But anyhow, they got this other man in, a Republican, and it ended up where he was involved in the big impeachment of President Clinton.
Wow.
So I got to meet Dick Gephardt at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and so forth.
And I understand you met Hillary
Oh, yes.
Hillary
I've met
Rodham
her.
Clinton.
And I intend to meet her a couple more times.
Could you tell us a little bit about her?
Oh, she's very small.
Oh.
She's sort of petite. And I don't know, other than that, other than she's just very sweet and nice from what I saw of her, and busy as it can be. But from what I've observed, she's very intelligent. She can answer questions right off the top of her head.
Mm.
She's quick.
Very intelligent woman.
Yeah, she is. Very bright.
Well, that's good to know since she's in a government position.
Right.
We'd love them all to be very wise and very brilliant.
Wouldn't we?
Yes. And because you were in LA in that area, I understand you've met some movie stars?
Oh, gosh. Bing Crosby I don't know if you ever remember, he fell off the stage at the Pasadena Civic Auditorium at one time. And he ended up in our hospital. He's a little bitty man, or was a little bitty man.
Oh, my gosh.
In fact, he almost looked like a teenager as far as size went. Plus, my father put in the sound at Paramount Studio. He was an electrical engineer. And so he worked on a lot of the road pictures with Bob Hope and Bing Crosby.
Oh, wow.
And basically, the reason they stopped making those pictures is because it all but bankrupt the studio, because they would act up so much during the making of the movie that the crew, it would put the time element completely off. So in other words, they had so much time to shoot this the scene and so forth. Well, it took them all day to do it, you know, and so that's paying for all these people. And so eventually the studio decided no more road pictures.
So in other words, they had the crew laughing too hard too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they had everybody going, you know.
Oh
so,
my gosh.
Yeah.
And what else did your dad do there?
Oh, Lord, besides this day in history. That's the day he died.
Oh, okay. Are you sure you'd like to talk about that?
Not right now,
Okay, we'll hold off for a little bit. All righty.
but
He must have worked on other pictures then, if he worked electric
gosh,
for...
yes. His favorite actress that he would talk about was Barbara Stanwyck
Oh,
and Teresa Wright. So basically, he'd just come home and tell us numerous things that would happen at the studios.
what did he tell you about Barbara Stanwyck?
Besides the fact that he thought she was the most beautiful star he'd ever seen.
She was a lovely lady.
Yeah, he just loved her. And-
Refresh our memories. What was Barbara on?
oh, gosh.
I can't think. It was a Western.
Yes, that's right. Bonanza? No, not Bonanza.
Not Bonanza.
Oh,
Big Valley?
yes.
Yes, Big
Yes,
Valley.
Big
Okay.
Valley. And then also the movie, the one with Fred McMurray, Double Indemnity. Was
Okay.
that?
All right. Yep.
I can't remember.
Yep.
But anyhow, she was married to Robert Taylor, and but my father just said she was just down to earth, a good person, easy to work with, and easy to be around.
That's wonderful to hear
Yeah.
because you assume movie stars are going to be
No.
impossible and
Oh,
unreachable and
Yeah.
all those
no,
things.
Certain ones he would say that, but she was one of those that wasn't.
Wow.
So,
So, what is your most memorable experience about your nursing career?
oh, Lord. I met numerous people. It's amazing the people you come in contact with. I was taking care of this little old man and come to find out he was a Pulitzer. And I've taken care of
Wow.
judges and the mayor of Pasadena. Oh, Ray Bolger, who is an old
Oh, I
movie actor.
loved Ray
He did
Bolger
a
from
dance
The
in our
Wizard of
hallway.
Oz.
Yeah.
He did?
Yes, he did a dance in our hallway.
Aw.
And I don't know, what I enjoyed about is the people I met, and I mean, the most important one I think was a policeman. He had cancer, and the police officers have a thing that they do. They assign somebody to stay with them. Anyway. He was just a good man. And at that time, the hospital was getting, where the insurance companies would come in and evaluate everything, and they'd say, get this person out, they'd go home, this one goes to a convalescent home or whatever, they can't stay any longer. Well, we deliberately did things just to keep him in the hospital because we knew, and it was Christmas, and we knew he was going to die.
Oh, my goodness.
So we didn't want him to go to,
So you were his angels.
yes,
You kept him in a good place.
yeah.
Well, he was blessed to have you.
Yeah, that was the only thing I had trouble with.
I imagine that must have been very difficult for you, for all of you, working with him.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably one of the major reasons why I never chose nursing. I don't
Well, at
think
the
I could be
time-
strong enough.
At the time, I could handle it, but I can't anymore.
Yeah.
I can't. Because it got to the point where I was taking care of nurses that I worked with
Oh.
and the doctors that I worked with. And when that happened, I said, this is it. I'm through. And I had to walk away.
But that was a lot of years.
Yeah.
27 is a lot of years.
Too many years.
Yeah. Well, would you like to tell us a little bit about what are your impressions, your memories of World War II? You were young. You were
Oh,
only 15,
It
but
seemed like the whole town changed. The town I grew up in is a little bitty town like this. We had 3 schools and 1 high school, junior high school. And anyway, you knew everybody in town. All of a sudden, there was this, I don't know, it seemed like everybody moved to California. And you would see these troops going up and down the street, like Colorado Boulevard. You'd have troop trains going up and down all over the place. And anyway, the people would come in just to work for the factories and things like this. And what made me upset, I had a girlfriend that was Japanese, and they took her away, her and her family. We had Japanese gardeners. My aunt, my great aunt, had Japanese gardeners. They took them away. We had people that worked in the grocery store that were Japanese. These people had been there all their lives, or our lives, and they took them away. Well,
It's so sinful how prejudice goes so deep.
Well, you know, they were so worried that they didn't know who was going to be a traitor or who was going to be doing something. So anyway, that was hard on us. And then, like I say, families, well, before that, the Depression years, everybody was struggling, and then all of a sudden there was all these jobs available everywhere. And you had all these people coming into California that were from, I swear, honest to Pete, from every part of the United States, you know.
Wow.
And it was really rare to find somebody that was a native Californian, because, you know, first of all, California is a younger state than many of the others, and so everybody is from someplace else. And like I say, my brothers, I even had uncles that were native Californians, so we were one of the rare bunch as far as that goes. But the whole environment changed as to the people, and as you know right now, California is a conglomerate of people. When I left, the Asians were #1 minority, #1 on the chart, then the Mexicans, and then the blacks, and then the whites.
Oh, wow.
And when I was a child, you could not have a black person in town after 5 o'clock. They had to leave. And yet they could work in there as your maid, your servant, whatever, your chauffeur. I think there was one man, Bill Lane, who lived up on the hill. He could have his man there, and he was the chauffeur and handyman. But he was the only one that was allowed to stay in town after 5 o'clock.
Boy, you've lived through a lot of changes in the sociology
Yes.
of our makeup, haven't you?
Yeah, because my first babysitter was a black girl.
Wow.
And then when I moved, the minority of the area that I lived in was black.
Moved within California?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a conglomerate town. You learn to live with people. It's beautiful. That was the only thing here. I looked around and all I could see was white people.
It's very homogeneous here.
Yes.
It is. I agree.
I was really surprised. I kept on looking for somebody that was different. But because California is such a conglomerate, like I say. But as a child, it wasn't that way. And it changed, I think, mainly during the war years, as well as the fact that, like I say, when I first moved there, I think, well, basically, the people were all the same like they are here, you know. And now you just get along with everybody. To be honest with you, I think it's beautiful. I like the variety.
Oh, I think it's wonderful.
And you can't live in California unless you get along with other people.
And I think that's a great testimony to people, isn't it?
It is. It's beautiful.
Did you have brothers or sisters?
Yes, I had 2 brothers.
Were they sent off to war?
No. My oldest brother, he was 18, or 18 when the war ended. And my younger brother is 3 years younger than I am. So I'm the middle one.
So they were too little to go to war?
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
We were all too small. But I had uncles and cousins that were in the war, as well as, in fact, in the Battle of the Bulge, and what was the other one that was so big? Can't remember, but they were in the part of it, and in Korea, and then I had a son in Vietnam.
Wow.
So it's been, now September 2nd, 1945.
Yes, I noticed
is the
that
day
date.
that the Japanese signed their surrender on the Missouri with MacArthur. And that's the day my father died at Paramount Studio.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, so
Oh my goodness.
that will stay in my mind the rest of my life.
Of course it will. Did he have a heart attack? He was young.
Yes, he was only 43 years
I
old.
thought so, and judging by the numbers, he had to be very young.
Yeah.
He must have had a heart
And they
attack.
were just going to start their first vacation since the war because, you know, everything was frozen during the war. And so my mom and dad were going to take a vacation, and that was a Sunday, and he really shouldn't have been at work. He was supposed to be doing something else, but he went in anyhow. And that's when he got bad, and he died there.
I'm so sorry.
So it was,
So you were 15 at the time?
right. So it was quite a shock for the family.
Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine. Then your mom had to raise you all?
Yes, but see, during the Depression, which was interesting, our family, okay, we had my grandmother and grandfather, my Uncle Jamie, my Uncle Chuck, my father, my Aunt Ruth, and Paul and Blair. Now, we all lived in this big old house. We got these big houses, and everybody in the family, and we even had county children. So everybody...
As in orphans, kind of?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
no, they weren't orphans. They were children of families that were broken up or couldn't handle them.
Almost like
yeah.
foster kids?
Yes, they're foster children.
Okay.
Type of thing. You don't adopt them. They're just there temporarily
Mhm.
till their families get back on their feet or something. And during the Depression, there was an awful lot of these children because their parents had to get out and work or what have you. And so we had actually a family of them. There was about 3 or 4 from this one family, and then my aunts who lived next door, my great aunts, they had a couple. But so we had these big old houses, and everybody went out to work, and Grandma and Grandpa stayed home and took care of all the kids. So that's the way we came through the Depression, with also hand-me-downs. Like my one uncle was in the Navy, and my grandmother took his uniform, and my younger brother had a Navy uniform.
Oh, wow.
Right to the perfect,
Yeah.
you know. So if you didn't get hand-me-downs, your clothes were all homemade. The only thing that you bought, I think, was your underwear and your shoes. Other than that,
Well, you had to be conservative,
yes,
for sure.
yeah, and food. It was always, you have to eat everything on your plate or else, because there's all these hungry children. And so that's why you get nice and big. No, I was quite thin as a child, so, but it was, and Grandma took care of everybody. She was a natural nurse and everything else. And Daddy, he was at home quite a bit of the time during the daytime, because he'd either work swing shift or night shift. And my parents were very active in the community. They were Boy Scout leaders, Sea Scout leaders, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Job's Daughters, Demolay. So
Wow.
we were very active in the community. And I think it still is going on that way with my family.
I can see that in your family, knowing
Yeah.
your son and,
Yeah.
and yourself.
Right.
And I can see the caretaking element from your dad definitely passed down to you.
Well, yeah, it's all in the family, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, though, like I say, sports, our front yard was a big old football field. So,
Wow.
and it was really a lot of fun.
You have some great memories, don't
Oh,
you?
yeah. And the hot rods. And
What about the hot rods?
Oh, my goodness, they'd tear a car apart and put it back together, you know? Like the Model A's and things, you know?
Sounds fun.
1940, 39 Fords or 34s. 34s and 32s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we'd tear them apart and put them back together.
Your whole family?
No, the boys.
The boys.
Yes, the boys in the neighborhood, yeah. And, you know, that was one of the things that us teenagers did an awful lot. But, oh, they were good years. They were really good years.
They sound wonderful.
It was, you know, people have a wrong impression of California. Naturally, it depends on what part of California you're from. But, like, sure, when I got into the teens, I went into Hollywood and saw all the stars and saw all the shows on television and things like that. And
Did you want to be a star?
Oh, I think we all went through that.
Did you?
Yes, sure.
I think I would have if I lived there.
And I swooned when I saw Frank Sinatra. Oh, I mean, that man, you know. You know, you go through that, yes.
I went through that in my little town of Akron, so I can imagine if I was right there in L.A.
Then as you get older, you're going to the grocery store and you say hi to somebody and you realize that was the guy that was just on Murder, She Wrote, you know, or something like that, you know.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, you know, these bit players. The guy that lived next door to me was a judge on Perry Mason.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, you know, they're just there, you know.
Everyday thing.
Yeah. You don't pay much attention to it.
And they like it that way, I'm sure, because they can't be fussed over constantly.
No, yeah, they can't. But like when my father passed away, to be honest with you, school was almost closed down, the high school. And when I got into line to give my note, they said, forget it, go, you know. But I didn't realize how many people from the studio was there. And it was
At the
amazing.
funeral?
Yes.
Aw.
I was surprised at it.
I'm sure he was well loved, just by the way you talk about him. He must have been.
But anyway.
So now, are you two brothers still in California?
Yes, one lives, my oldest brother ended up being a fireman. And he was on the fire department for, I think he went into it when he was in his 20s and he didn't leave until he was in his 60s. But see, the fire department in California is different than it is here. You get paid.
Ah, that's nice.
You're on 24, off 24, and
Oh,
then you
wow.
have so many days you accumulate so that you have vacation. So that they have their different shifts, A shift, B shift, and then they develop these businesses, and they build houses.
Wow.
They do all sorts of things. Okay, one guy's an engineer, another guy is the carpenter, and so forth. So they have a company that goes around and builds these businesses. And I mean, it's a camaraderie that they have that is amazing. But anyway, he went through the paramedics thing and everything else like most of them do. So being with the fire department over here at Newstead is part of my life too. But then my younger brother, he has his own construction company. Now my older brother lives near Santa Barbara, up on the coast now. But when we were younger and working, we all lived in the Eagle Rock, Pasadena area.
Okay.
But my younger brother still lives in Sunland, California.
Sunland?
Sunland.
Sunland?
It's near Tahunga, Burbank.
Burbank, okay, there's one I know.
Yes, that's
Thank you.
the television studio area,
Yes.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what does your younger brother do? He
owns
builds houses still?
He owns a construction company.
Still? Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
he should retire, but he doesn't.
Spoken like a true older sister.
Yeah.
Well, this is wonderful. I am so thrilled that you... Well, I can't help but want to ask you one question, since you are from California. Please tell me, did you ever live through an earthquake?
Oh, quite a few.
Quite a few?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
They happen at almost a regular basis, but the biggest one that I remember is in about 1952 in July. That was the Tehachapi, and I was pregnant.
Oh, my goodness.
So, and I was sitting down, of all places, in John, when the whole house shook. And I mean, it shook. And naturally, you're big and you're off balance and everything else. Well, that one had about 3 or 4 after effects that were pretty strong.
Mm.
And I noticed afterwards that my house had a crack going along the side of it and things. But earthquakes in California are not, it's like a big jolt. Somebody's shaking you real hard. Or else it's sort of nauseating because it's like a wave.
Oh, yeah.
And they come sometimes at a frequent basis, but mainly it depends on where the epicenter is. Now, when we lived in Long Beach, the epicenter sometimes was out in the ocean, so we would get an after effect. But now the one that happened in San Francisco that was so destructive, and I think that one was in the mid-90s.
Yes, I believe it was.
It was destructive. We only got a few jolts down there in the beach area, and California is sort of weird. You've got to understand about. You can stand on the beach here, look up north, and you're looking at a snow-capped mountain,
Oh, wow.
and that's called Mount Baldy. And right here in front of you you got palm trees. And so you got all this vast difference of things, but as far as the earthquakes go, like I say, they become an everyday thing like your snowstorms.
So you don't fear them?
I never did, and I think that one time when I was in the hospital, where we did have a good jolt that time, and I can't even remember which one it was. No, you get to the point that you don't really, although I do have a neighbor lady that she was so hysterical, she stayed outside for a week by her swimming pool.
Wow.
And she couldn't, anything to get away from the earthquakes, but then she's still there.
But you didn't have a healthy respect for them, though? Like, we do have a healthy respect for snowstorms here. I mean, blizzards.
You never know when they're going to come, but you do know what to do. Like, you always go to a door. Now, I went into hallways. If you have a hallway where you have all these doors, you've got a really good protection there. And you don't be moving around too much during that time because you can be off balance and things go flying.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
You lose dishes and things like that. But basically, to me, and I don't think my children either, or my family, any one of us, really did have any real phobia towards them.
So that basically is a very good analogy with our snowstorms.
Yeah.
We have a respect for them, but we don't get phobic about them.
You know what to do and how to prepare yourself for it. And then, naturally, you try to stay calm and then react afterwards.
So the big one that you were talking about when you were pregnant didn't destroy your home, or it didn't crack the foundation?
It cracked the walling, and it shook me up because I think the main thing was because I was pregnant at the time.
Well, that would have shook me up.
And it just made it more, in fact, they said that it probably caused the baby to come a little earlier.
Oh, my goodness. What about mudslides? Weren't those in your area?
Oh, we had fires. Oh, fires like crazy. We lived right near the mountains, and when I say mountains, I'm not talking about a little knoll. I'm talking about a mountain.
Nah.
You know, like the High Sierras almost. Not quite that big, but they are big. And like Mount Wilson, I don't know how high Mount Wilson is, but that's where all your television antennas and everything are. But they always have fires along the San Gabriel line during the summer. And you can be sitting on your front porch and it looks like a snowstorm of all the ashes coming down on you. And your car gets covered. And that, to me, is really horrendous. You see all these flames. And then afterwards, if you get any rain, it comes, and that's when you get your slides and your floods, and that's what does do damage. Those things are more damaging than, to me, and more frightening than the earthquakes were.
Did you ever see a mudslide yourself?
Not too much, no, because like I say, even though I lived in the mountains an awful lot, in Altadena. By the way, Altadena is where you got JPL and your main area for your jet propulsion laboratory.
Oh, okay.
So But and see, that's also near the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
So see,
Right.
everything is right in that area where I used to live.
Do you miss California?
I only miss the people that I knew, but I love it here.
Oh, good.
I can't stand heat. Heat
Oh.
and I do not get along. And I can't take the summers here. I really can't.
Why, that they're too hot?
Yes, you're hotter than
Well,
California.
The last few summers have been very hot.
It's the humidity.
Yeah, yeah,
The
they've been hot and humid.
humidity is-
I agree.
so I had to get me an air conditioner so I could tolerate it. But,
Well, good. Good
was
that you
the
did
only
that.
thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's the only thing I miss about California is my family and friends there.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much once
It's been a
again.
pleasure.
It's been a wonderful talk. Thank
thank
you.